are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano,
host of Locked On Rays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. You can subscribe to Locked On Rays on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Odyssey, and online at fanstreamsports.com. We're also on YouTube as well. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Rays. You can also email us, lockedonrays@gmail.com. This episode is brought to you by Spotify Green Room. Download the app and join Ulises and I this week to get in on the Tampa Bay Rays action and conversation. That's Spotify Green Room. Well, Ulises, my prediction the other day that the Rays very well could sweep the Red Sox is looking pretty good right now, I would think, after last night's 12-7 victory, which I don't even think should be considered as close as that score indicates there.
Yeah, it's not indicative of what actually happened, the 12-7. It was more 12-1, and then, well, David Hess came in and did David Hess type things. That was a fun game, though. I mean, I know it got a little bit hairy for those of us who were a little bit anxious prone, and you wanted that third out to come rather quickly in the ninth. Mm-hmm. But it was a good, enjoyable game to see the boys just, launch after launch. What Zunino and Cruz did yesterday, I don't know what was more impressive. Two home runs and a triple from a catcher, or 2 home runs from a 41-year-old and becoming the oldest player ever to have a 30 home run season. Do you know what's more astounding, at least to you personally, Kevin?
Well, I'm going to give Zunino a little bit of a black mark on the triple because I think it should have been an inside the park homer. If he didn't stop and slow at first and not run out of the box. And I know you're a catcher. I hate to nitpick every little thing, but he very well could have had what? I guess that would be 3 home runs if he had the inside the bow. At the same time, do we see Mike Zunino have an inside-out swing and go the other way? I think he might have been as shocked as anybody that it's like, wow, down the right field line. Thank you, Fenway Park. Thank you, weird, wacky dimensions, the gift that keeps on giving to the Rays.
And also, Renfroe didn't go hard after that ball. It seems like he's playing in a sandlot ballpark, so he thought there were sandlot-type rules where, like, if I don't go after it, they'll call it foul. Nah, it hit the chalk. You got to go after that. And to your point, I also thought that it was actually on my notes. Like, could he have had an inside the park home run? But then I started looking at that replay. I think if he starts to run out rather quickly, he might have been able to catch up to that runner. So maybe ultimately he couldn't have got the inside the park home run. But I'm with you. It would have been nice to see him not completely stop dead in his tracks from home to first. But whatever, he had a fantastic game. Called a pretty good game also because Rasmussen was on fire once again. I said it yesterday on anti-social media. There is nobody I trust more in that rotation than Drew right now. Mm-hmm. He's the guy. When he's on the mound, and I'm not only saying this because he's giving me hella points in my fantasy team, but he is just so fun to watch. And you know what you're getting. You're getting 4 innings and 1 run. You're getting 5 innings and 1 run. It's pretty sweet.
It really is. And he is the type of, maybe he is. This is probably a conversation for another day, but maybe he is that number 2 guy after Shane McClanahan in the playoffs. If he keeps doing what he's doing, if it's got to be only 4 or 5 innings, okay, we'll live with if you just give us an earned run here and there. And there were a couple moments that really impressed me with Drew. First off, I think just the execution of fastball slider away from the righties, I think that was a big thing. But you look at the bottom of the second inning, he's got runners on second and third, no out. And he gets out of it just allowing a run on a ground out. He retired Verdugo. He retired Vasquez. He retired Iglesias. And then I guess his last outing before he was pulled in the 5th, it was a man on second, no out situation. He handles that. And this is the second time that he's handled, I think, Fenway Park. So he's showed that he can live up to the stress and the pressure and the heightened stakes, if you will. A guy who nobody was really talking. I mean, think about this was the guy acquired in the Willy Adames trade. This is really, he's a bigger piece than maybe we initially thought a couple months ago.
Yeah, and that's the stretching him out a bit, because I feel like if he had just been another type of reliever, and with what Willy's doing, I know that Willy wouldn't have done that in a Rays uniform. We all know the struggles at the Trop, so we're not going to get into that. But it always seemed like, two relievers for what Willy could provide, that's a shame. But Fire Eisen has been, well, I'm sorry for the pun, but he has been on fire. And Rasmussen, by putting him on the rotation, you basically get a top of the rotation arm. This is a pretty good get. And against Boston, as a starter, not as a reliever, as a starter, he has 13 innings pitched, 10 hits allowed, only 3 runs, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, and 11 Ks. He's missing bats. He's got the stuff. I know that his fastball was definitely faster, had a lot more velo as a reliever. But I think that that's the case for any reliever that goes to, pitch 4 or 5 innings. You got to, keep your stamina a little bit more. So, you'll take the loss there on the MPHs there for 4 innings. But no, he's looked impressive. I feel like if you get a top of the rotation arm plus a good setup guy like Fire Eisen for Willy, and he wasn't going to do Willy things anywhere but the Trop, I think it's a good deal.
And then you open up a spot for Wander Franco. That was the other component of that deal as well. Speaking of trades and deals, man, we look at the impact that Nelson Cruz is making, particularly in the last couple of games, last couple of days. I mean, he now I count 11 home runs in 36 games with the Rays. Really, really good stuff, not to mention the amount of doubles that he has as well, and just the presence he provides to the team in the lineup. But is it too soon to talk about this being one of the, maybe it depends on what happens with the Rays the rest of the season and into the playoffs, but one of the 5 biggest or most impactful trades in Rays history? Like, I know it's more of a short-term deal. It's not, the Chris Archer or the Matt Garza. You pick which one you want, the Twins Garza deal or the Cubs Garza deal, or adding Ben Zobrist. Like, those might have been more longer-term franchise uplifting move. But in the immediate, I mean, this could, at the end of the day, if the Rays do what we think they can do, this might go down in history as one of the top ones, if not the top.
I think it would be the top if they go all the way, for sure. And I'm thinking another trade deadline like that you saw immediate push and immediate returns was Tommy Pham. When you get Tommy Pham in 2018, the Rays could not lose with him on the lineup. It was something ridiculous. Like I feel like they won like 85% of the games that he was in the lineup. And he was on the IL for a period of time because he hurt his hand going into a base. So, no, I think this would be the top. I mean, Nelly Cruz, what he's been doing, not only the 11 home runs in the 35 games you said, but the 30 RBIs as well.
Right. 30
RBIs in like almost as many games. This is a guy that's just producing. And I feel like if you're looking at the acquisitions throughout baseball and maybe throughout the AL East division, is there a better one? I mean, Barrios hasn't really changed the needle, I don't think. Schwarber, has he changed the needle? Heaney? Well, maybe Heaney has changed the needle for the Yankees, but in the opposite way. Gallo, Rizzo. I mean, I feel like Nelly Cruz has been the difference maker, at least in the division, and the records prove it. The Rays have just been unstoppable since the trade deadline. And again, it's not only his stat line. His stat line, again, that's pretty good. 11 home runs, 30 RBIs in 35 games, 36 games, whatever it is. It's pretty good that what he does in front and behind him in the lineup. I don't think it's a surprise that Wander Franco has the talent that he has, and he's on a 37-game on-base streak, which that's great because he now passed Yankee Mickey Mantle. But you have to think that that's because also Nelson is behind him or in front of him. That helps him. Nelson Cruz helps people around him.
Yeah, and Look, it's so fun to hear about his stories as well. He's hitting off a tee in a hotel room with his private hitting coach, while other guys are probably taking naps and ordering room service and playing video games, maybe going out on the town. He's getting his work in at 41 years old. He knows what works in his favor. It's really an amazing sight to see. And we mentioned it at the top with Mike Zunino. Let's also put that into perspective. He's now at, 29 home runs for the year?
29, yeah. One away from 30.
One more, and I think that we've got a prop bet or a nice little wager on that one. But let's consider this guy is batting 8th in the order, and he has 29 home runs and an 857 OPS.
Yeah.
And he strikes fear. It's hard to, between the home runs that Zunino and Nelson Cruz hit, although, who knows, maybe the most gargantuan home runs came from Bobby Dahlback off David Hess at the end of the day. Right. But if we're just looking at Mike Zunino and Nelson Cruz, I think Nelson Cruz maybe had the tougher one that was to the deepest part of the ballpark, but the one that got my
Zunino hit.
My eyes popped out of my face was the one that hit the Plymouth Rock advertisement off the Green Monster. I don't know what the exact distance was, but it was insane.
It was enough. Statcast said, wow, it hit me really hard. That's what happened. That was some sort of bomb. And Luplo got into the action too. And again, if you look back at how that game started with Luplo with the double, Margot with the double, Wendell getting on base, Zunino then driving them in with that triple. That's boom, 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 boom. Mm-hmm. The way that the Rays, I think, scored 5 runs in 3 innings against a pitcher who had success against them,
right,
and who is not a slouch by any means. They don't care. I mean, this offense right now is like hitting on all cylinders. I feel like we are so accustomed to just having like an okay offense and like great pitching.
Right.
Now that we don't have like great pitching in the rotation, we're like, oh, look, our rotation is not the same. But can we talk about that lineup though? That lineup is nasty. That lineup is the best in baseball right now. And so I get a little, when people are like, oh, well, the Blue Jays are so good. I'll take that Rays lineup anytime.
The most runs in baseball this year?
Yeah.
Who scored the most runs in baseball this year?
Exactly. It's the Rays.
Just throwing that out there. You mentioned Jordan. Yeah, we're having some connection issues. Go ahead, Ulises.
No, I'm just saying I feel like there's just not enough of a spotlight on what this lineup can do. They can score 5 runs rather easily. And at Fenway Park, they can score 8 runs or more pretty much every time.
Yeah, you very well put with that. And I think Mike Zunino, not only just what he does with the bat, but you mentioned it, calling the game for Drew Rasmussen. He's now worked with like 35 different pitchers. The Rays have used a record number of pitchers. I think that if I was his agent, I would insert a clause into his contract for every new pitcher I have to work with and train with and get on the same page with. Give me like a $5,000 bonus or something like that, because that is work. That is not easy to do. Everybody has a different personality, way of doing things, different strengths, weaknesses, what makes them tick. And you have to understand that, not to mention some of the dichotomy of breaking balls and fastballs and off speed and everything that's throwing the kitchen sink at Mike Zunino, although I think he handles it pretty well because he's got some experience. Like if he can handle Tyler Glasnow and Charlie Morton and Blake Snell, what those the nasty stuff those guys were throwing, I think he can handle just about anybody. But the fact that it's like every week, every couple of days, he has a new understudy or a new coworker that he has to cohabitate with.
Well, I feel like that is kind of like when you're learning languages. If you only know one, it's very difficult to go into the second one. But once you know 2, 3, 4, then that 5th one is going to be not very easy, but easier than just learning your second one. You've got the tools, you've got the things that you need to, the connections. I feel like that's the same way with Zunino. He has worked with so many pitchers, not only in his career, but with the Rays themselves. I mean, I 60 pitchers. I mean, 70 in 3 years. I don't know. That would be a kind of a cool trivia question. How many pitchers has Zunino worked with? That would be really interesting. Does it reach 100? Could it reach 100?
I mean, if he stays with the Rays another year, I would imagine it could get pretty darn close with that, considering all
intense,
the turnover.
man.
Hey, we might have to have we might have to have Zunino on Green Room, Spotify Green Room at some point. It'd be nice to
there you go.
Have him check in. It's a pretty cool platform there.
Yes, it is. Spotify Green Room. This episode is brought to you by them, Spotify Green Room. How about that? It is the first social audio platform made for sports fans. The app is free to download, and once you're in, you can talk with us, Kevin and I, other fans, athletes, maybe Zunino, and insiders in real time about your favorite team or sport. Go download the free Green Room app right now, currently available on all iOS devices. Be sure to create a profile, link your Twitter, and join the MLB group and the Tampa Bay Rays group for the latest league updates. Green Room, changing the way we talk sports.
Introducing Stat Hero. It's the first ever daily fantasy sports book that puts the player in control and winning within reach. Here's how it works. Stat Hero shows you their lineup and dares you to beat them. It's you versus the house in a head-to-head fantasy matchup. You name your stakes, winner take all. You have the advantage. Stat Hero is showing you their lineups ahead of time. No one else does that. So we know you want to get in on some of that action. So go to stathero.com/lockedon, LOCKEDON. Sign up for free. And right now you can get 3 times back on your first play. They're giving you a 300% match. That's unheard of. So go to stathero.com/lockedon, stathero.com/lockedon, LOCKEDON to do that. Okay, Ulises, the Rays got to be thankful that we're doing a podcast and we're one of the few people that are talking about and writing about the Rays on a daily basis, because it still seems like for one reason or the other, the national media is ignoring the Rays or gets things wrong or just doesn't really care to correct things. And it's funny because we had talked about this about a week or so ago, and Mark Topkin of the Tampa Bay Times kind of put it all in perspective. He outlined all the incidents where the Rays have been rebuffed or dissed or disrespected by other media types. Like, I almost want to do a ranking of what the most egregious, Rays hate would be for this season and or past years. But there's so many. And this is just like recently too.
There's too many options. You couldn't put a poll. Twitter only allows 4. We'd need a whole thread.
Basically, 10, 12 tweets, something like that. You have the MLB Network misidentifying Brandon Lau as prospect Josh Lowe. Did I get that right? The Lows and Lows? Okay, close enough. There we go. Nesson feed identified Yandy Diaz as Nelson Cruz. ESPN tweeted about Wander Franco's on-base streak, but used a photo of Yandy Diaz. We know about Tony Kornheiser's diarrhea of the mouth, saying how the Rays aren't interesting nor charismatic, and that's actually turned into a pretty cool rallying cry. And you actually have that shirt that kind of makes fun of that and poo-poos that a little bit, so that's pretty cool. ESPN calling Blake Snell Ian Snell, ESPN calling Pete Fairbanks Patrick. The Fenway Park video board still using or listing the Rays as the D-Rays or Devil Rays. And that's not even getting to some other ones, like we remember not too long ago where MLB.com used a photo of Brandon Lau and Ryan Thompson. They used Brandon Lau as if he was Ryan Thompson as the opener in their kind of pitching probables graphic. And then this might be the biggest one, the most national staged one, was Joe Buck mispronouncing Brandon Lau's name during the All-Star introductions. That might be the big
might take the cake because of the big stage. I would add the Joey Wendell Mendel thing.
Yes, that's another
Mendel
one
instead of Wendell. There's so many though, Kevin. I mean that's not to poo-poo your whole thing. It's just there is so many to keep track of. It's unbelievable. How much more does this franchise need to do? Since 2008, only 3 franchises have won more than the Rays. What else do you need to do? The Dodgers, the Yankees, and the Cardinals. then it's the Rays. What else? Since 2008, that's incredible. Longo was a damn rookie in that season. He's now an elder statesman.
Right.
That's how long it's been. A damn almost Hall of Fame career since the Rays got good, and you're still treating them as before 2008. I don't know what else they need to do. That's ridiculous.
Do you think it's almost, I don't want to say the Rays embrace it, but can it at the very least be used as consistent bulletin board material? Like, we always have to prove you or something wrong, or it's almost gotten to the point where we're good. We know we're good. We don't have to prove anyone else anything, but it'd be nice to get some recognition, and for people whose job it is to get names and stats right, to get those things right.
That's the thing. I think for them, if national fans really don't know a lot about them, they can always use that as a rallying cry. Or if there's not a lot of articles being done in Sports Illustrated or ESPN, and they're not really talked about on MLB Network, you can be like, whatever, we'll take care of business, bulletin board type of stuff. But the mistakes, though, the egregious mistakes for people that get paid a lot of money to not get that right, then that's the issue. You can't have that. So that's the disappointing part. You're saying that these analysts know so much, and they get in between the numbers, and you can't say Wendell, you can't say Blake Snell, the Cy Young winner, right? They're not calling him, Jonas Giolito. I've never heard that. It's really sometimes conspiracy theory here. I feel like they like kind of poking at Tampa Bay like this, and I don't know why, but maybe not. But that's my conspiracy theory, I guess.
And sometimes you have when somebody from the national media does write or cover the Rays, they usually have some sort of agenda or hit piece, i.e. Tom Verducci with the pitching churn and shuffle. I do want to get your take on this because Topkin did mention this in his article. Maybe he should have included his constant attendance tweets. Maybe he should have added that to the list. But what do you think about other people outside of the market calling the Tampa or saying the stadium in Tampa, as opposed to being super specific about, no, it's in St. Petersburg, it's not Tampa, we're Tampa Bay, but it's not really in the same locale?
I think the same thing. If you get paid to be on TV, on radio, and to write about sports, and you get that wrong, that's not the way it should be. This is not a young franchise anymore. Okay, right. It's really not. 23 years. I mean, come on, 23 years. That's like, and the fact is that so much has been written about attendance. So much has been written about the stadium issues, because that's all they care about when they talk about the Rays. Well, then if you've talked about it so much, you should at least get it right. You should at least know that it's in St. Pete and not Tampa. You should know that it's not the Tampa Rays, it's the Tampa Bay Rays. There's also not a city called Tampa Bay either. That's another whole issue. There are so many little things, and I think that disrespect just permeates around the whole region. I don't, again, you know me, I'm not a big football guy or a hockey guy. I don't know if the Bucks and the Lightning get this disrespect as well, but I do have a friend who is a hockey fanatic, and it does seem like the Lightning is completely the opposite with the Rays. Like, people hate the Lightning because they're like so good, and there's never any talk about attendance. They're kind of like the Yankees or like the Red Sox. The Lightning is, at least according to him, and he knows a lot about hockey. I don't know your take on that with the Bucks.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. And maybe some of it has to do with the fact, in talking about the Tampa St. Petersburg angle, is the fact that the Lightning and the Bucks play in Tampa. So, but they're also called Tampa Bay Lightning and Tampa Bay Bucks. So I'm sort of with you. If it's your job to write and cover about baseball, you need to know that the Rays play in St. Petersburg and not in Tampa, and Tampa Bay is not a city and so forth. But the average casual baseball fan, I won't necessarily get on you about that. Like, the Dallas Cowboys, they don't play in Dallas. They play in Arlington. Like, how?
Look at that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that Dallas Cowboy didn't play in Dallas. I would have thought of Dallas. Again, the normal fan, like, that's not who I have the gripes with. I'm not going to get with Joe Schmo, who's a 17-year-old on Twitter, who's tweeting out instead of studying for his algebra test. That's not the concern. The concern is Tom Verducci. The concern is Ken Rosenthal. And the damn thing that there are so many adjectives in the English language. Grab a dictionary if you don't have a dictionary at home. It's this big, the English dictionary, okay? There are many adjectives, and they only can use the damn word pesky. Come on.
That's it. That's all you can do. And you would think they would try to use a different word with the pesky pole. Like, isn't that sort of stealing the Red Sox thunder a little bit with that?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Have you ever been to Fenway Park?
I have. I took a stadium tour. I haven't watched a game, but I did take a stadium tour. It's pretty cool.
Okay, it's cool. Is it like you being a Rays fan and maybe having some bias here? The stadium, the amenities, the seats. What's your
the seats were crap.
Oh, okay.
Oh, the seats were crap. I mean, they were so crowded. They were so tiny. There's, it's cool because you're like, wow, this is really old. And, in America, there's not a lot of things that are so old, and this structure, so many great players and all that. That's the cool side, but to enjoy a baseball game, I haven't done that. So this is a biased thing here. And of course, I'm a Rays fan, but, I wouldn't want to eat a hot dog, like this in front of me. It's like being on an airplane in the middle seat, Do you have fun in the middle seat in the airplane? I think that would be kind of the same thing.
Yeah. I have fun in the middle seat when nobody's sitting next to me on either side. That's when it's a good deal. I just want to sign the poll. I want to. They had a graphic on that. Valley Sports did something on that, and I just want to get over there and or put a Locked On Rays sticker or something. We could be a little creative with all that too. Okay, Ulises. It is. We're recording in the morning, and I'm getting pretty hungry. I need something to pick me up a little bit to carry through that show, to carry through this show, I should say. Do you have anything I could use? Anything that would help me out a little bit?
Well, maybe, you can get something that's delicious, but also has some chocolate. How about some Built Bars? And I don't know about you. My favorite, of course, is peanut butter brownie, but you've got so many to choose from, Kevin. You got coconut, raspberry, mint brownie, double chocolate, salted caramel. You've got them all. And if you can't really decide, get a mix box. You get 2 of each one of the 9 flavors. Of course, they're healthy too. They're not only just chocolate bars. So they've got 17 to 18 grams protein, 4 to 5 net carbs, 4 to 5 grams sugar. They're amazing. They're delicious. Go get them. But before you go get them, Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15, LOCKED15, and that will get you 15% off your order at Built.com.
I think Mike Zunino and Nelson Cruz had a Built Bar too before last night's game, and Jordan Luplow too, maybe, and maybe Drew Rasmussen, maybe a lot of guys. Maybe the last couple of days were indulgent in the Built Bars there. Today, we also want to tell you about a simple way to get all the entertainment you love without the hassle. DirecTV Stream brings you live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, which means you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. And the best part, there's no annual contract. So stop waiting and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Okay, Ulises, the Rays are looking for a sweep against the Boston Red Sox. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but if the Rays beat the Red Sox and Toronto beats the Yankees tonight, wouldn't that put Boston and Toronto in the same spot as far as games back? Maybe not. I might be off my line of thinking here. Maybe it's just, okay, the records are off a little bit, but it would certainly help.
If the Red Sox lose and the Jays keep on winning, which they've done 6 in a row, they would be 1 game back of the Red Sox. The Jays would be. So it's getting interesting. Again, a lot of things could happen. On the outside, of course, Seattle is trying to get in there. That would be really exciting to see a Seattle Blue Jays wild card game. I think that would be good for baseball. And I think it would be good for baseball to not have the Yankees and the Red Sox. That'd be really great.
Yeah, and we talked about that yesterday, but the more, like, if the Blue Jays keep winning like they are, and we know how the Rays have had some awkward struggles with them in the past, and they're kind of turning the corner here, I would almost like to see Boston just kind of wither into the playoffs and the Rays can take care of them. Okay, here, you got into the playoffs, great, fine, but we're just going to crush you and move on to the next round. Where if you get a team that's incredibly hot or on fire and really feeling itself like the Blue Jays, and they can score with the best of them too and have, I would imagine, a pretty good 1-2 punch now. It just, it's a tough thing to, I would love to see, I don't want to see the Yankees and the Red Sox in the playoffs, but I'd rather see a team that, I mean, we're dominating the Red Sox. So if this is the version that would show up in the playoffs, okay, I'll take you guys every day.
Yeah. I mean, you got to think about what would be, again, as a Rays fan, you don't like the Yankees and the Red Sox. So them missing the playoffs and them being the poverty franchises, would love that. Yeah. The thing is, though, like you're saying, the playoffs, whoever gets hot gets hot. It doesn't matter, what you did in the regular season. It's a crapshoot in the playoffs. You just got to get there. So if you got there hot, that's going to help you. But again, tell that to the Colorado Rockies of 2007, winning 21 out of their last 22 and then getting swept. So, that's true. I mean, and again, if you look at the Red Sox against the Jays, I do feel like the Jays are the better team, at least now. Mm-hmm. But the Rays are a better team than the Red Sox, and the Rays are a better team than the Jays. And the regular season, I know they've had close games, but again, the Rays are winning that series.
Right.
So again, I think it would be exciting to watch new teams and new blood in the playoffs. I get what you're saying with the Red Sox limping into the playoffs, but I don't think the Rays would have any issue with the Red Sox nor the Jays.
Yeah, we'll find out. I mean, I think the Rays do play the Blue Jays. They've got several games with them later on this month, so that'll be kind of a good, that'll be a good barometer test there. Tonight, it's Shane McClanahan going up against Nate Eovaldi. Shane has a 3.76 ERA, 125 strikeouts, 9-5 record. Eovaldi 3.73 ERA, 163 strikeouts, 10-8 record. McClanahan struggled a little bit his last time out versus Boston. On the flip side, Eovaldi in his last, I mean, he's been really good his last 5 half-dozen starts, but his last time out against the Rays back in mid-early August, 7 innings, 1 earned run, 10 strikeouts. He had everything working that day. The sideways curveball, the split finger, the top zone fastball. That was just the power that he and the aggressiveness with which he was throwing was a sight to see. But maybe the Rays can. They're getting hot offensively. You can't deny scoring how many runs they scored last night and the night before, and what they've done since Nelson Cruz has been acquired and since Wander Franco and so many others have been hot right now.
No, and at Fenway, again, they're averaging 8 runs a game.
Yeah.
Or I think now after last night's game, I think that has bumped up a little bit, 8.5 or whatever it is. But no, Eovaldi, when he's on, he can be really, really good. And he's faced Cleveland twice in a row now. Quality starts against them. And not a lot of personal success I saw in the lineup against Eovaldi. I think Brendan Lau is the best guy with 2 for 7 and a home run. So maybe look for Brandon to maybe pull one to the pesky pull side. McClanahan has been getting hit around with Boston and Baltimore his last 2 starts. 11 innings, I got him at 16 hits. Not a lot of walks, only 2. And the punches are still there, 12 and 11 innings. But the hits, 16 hits. Baltimore and Boston have gotten him. So hopefully he can settle that down, have a little Drew Rasmussen type of outing. I'm looking for 6. I'm looking just for a quality start. If he keeps them at 6 innings, 3 runs, that should be enough to win the ball game, because this Rays lineup is really, really hot right now.
Yeah, and what helped, I guess, yesterday is the fact that the Rays had such a big lead, and it was such a dominating, or going to be a dominating victory, that They didn't have to roll out the A or the bullpen, A or the B part of the bullpen. It was the C and D part of the bullpen. It was the
Kid
Durham
got up
shuffle
twice.
with.
I didn't like that. Kid didn't need to get up twice. That's a shame.
Yeah.
But again, like you said, not actually getting into the game is what matters ultimately, and that's nice to see.
Yeah, Lewis Head and David Hess there. What's crazy too, again, just looking at last night's game, the Rays scored 12 runs, and guess who didn't play? Brandon Lau nor Austin Meadows. You do all that without those two guys.
Those are pinch hit options, like BA said. That's incredible. Again, this Rays lineup is not getting the love even from Rays Nation. This is a really, really good lineup. So I get what the Red Sox lineup can do, the Yankees and the Jays. I get that. That's firepower. Right now, I'll take the Rays lineup.
I don't disagree. Good point there. Okay, that wraps up this edition of the Locked On Rays podcast. Also, remember to tell your smart device to play the most recent episode of the Locked On Bets podcast. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.